Hey, welcome to Web3 Weekly with your host, Blockstar Technology.
Let's go.
All right, guys. So we are now live on our 18th podcast. So I have 18. Can you believe it? 18 weeks.
God.
We've been going on like without a break. So guys, welcome to our Twitter Spaces and Insta Live as well. So we have Craig to my left, Charlie and Maureen. And today we are joined by none other than Shane Benson from Lloyds Auctions. So Shane, so you had the fine art and jewelry, that department for Lloyds Auctions. Can you give us a little bit of a description, introduction about your background and how do you come about to this role, please?
Sure. So I'm part of the fine arts team for Lloyds Auctions. My main role is in authentication, appraisals, and bringing in new product. I've been in the industry, online auction industry, over 20 years. In fact, my wife and I started a company when the internet first came to Australia, online shopping internet that was, as the first big players in online fine arts. And we ran that company for about 15 years and we merged up with Lloyds six odd years ago. And it's been a great ride with Lloyd. It is a great ride, and now we're doing quite a bit of work with you guys in the Blockstar in the NFT realm, which is fantastic. It's the new way of art. It's what all the new buyers are looking at. The old buyers are looking at traditional landscapes, and new buyers are looking at NFTs.
Yep. So in the you deal with artists pretty much day to day. What we call the not the digital artists,
Traditional
artists in this space. When you started your previous business and dealing with the traditional artists, how did that look like when you got into this space first, when the internet first came about and you get, okay, let's bring you guys online, and how did that experience was for you guys as vendors?
Yeah, that was an interesting ride actually, because prior to the internet, it was all gallery-based art. So there was, let's say, there was 50 galleries around Australia. Unless you got picked up by that gallery as an artist, you never got your artist shown to buyers. And unless as a buyer you went to that gallery, you never saw the artist's work. So what it actually meant was you really only bought artwork from artists that were local to that area or that gallery that you attended, because that galleries would, in general, only have local artists in their galleries. And outside of that, a few major players, but it really was limiting, your access as a buyer to art and to the, to sellers. But when we first started, all those gallery owners were my age then, so I thought they were really old, and I was in 20-odd-ish. On this new thing called the internet, and it was a hard ride to start with. They weren't big fans of it. We were encroaching on them. We were doing something new. We were opening up art to a much bigger buyer base, and also back then the way that the galleries got art, if they didn't get it directly off the artist, they'd buy at auction and put it in their gallery. What we did with and what the internet did is people could then Google and search and find art themselves, and it allowed artists to be everywhere as opposed to just in that little local gallery. But it grew over time, and eventually, and ironically, as those gallery owners passed on and got out of the gallery space, we got to auction off the contents of a lot of those galleries through our online database. So it was a bit of, and we became quite close friends with a lot of the gallery owners, although in the beginning they did give us a rough time. They warmed to our charm, and eventually we became really close to them, and we still to this day speak to a lot of them. A lot of them have still come to us asking for some estimates on art that they have, and I'm like, the art's not worth what you paid for it 20 years ago or 25 years ago. Everything's changed. The whole landscape of the art world has changed in that time. And now we're pretty well if you're not online, then you're not in the space. As an artist, you have access to anyone in the world, not just in your country or in your city or in your town. You have access to anyone in the world, and anyone can be an artist now as well, whereas previously not anyone could be an artist. You needed to be lucky enough to be picked up by a gallery, and you needed them to be lucky enough to be hung on the wall. And mind you only hung on the wall once or twice a year for an exhibition, and the rest of the time your art was in the back room. So you had to be, it was basically in the Goldilocks of having the right buyer in the right space, the right time, in the right gallery to sell a piece. It's totally different now.
So Shane, can I just ask, with obviously all of this going online at the time that it did and opening it up to a much wider market, but on the opposite side of that, you also had much more art that was accessible online. So did it impact like art prices at the time? Like, did they go up? Did they go down? Was there more supply than demand?
There were a few things in that. There was some, I'm going to call it government intervention with some, vis copies and stuff like that did it around the similar sort of time when the internet art was taking off and exploding. But it did, I think, as buyers now, our buying habits have changed. Where if we look at a buyer now, the people with money are younger than what they used to be, and they're a lot more transactional. And also, what a buyer likes today is not so much what they like tomorrow. So that automatically puts limits on what they're spending on a product. If we go back to when I started 20 years ago, if you just collected one artist, let's say you collected a Charles Blackman, you always bought that artist's work from that same gallery. And so you paid whatever you paid because that's what you got and where you got it. And whether you liked the painting or not, that's what you collected.
Right.
Now it's different. Buying habits are completely different now.
Yeah.
Completely different. And it's a lot more transactional. There's no, people won't just buy from somebody because they've bought from them before. You've got to be competitive in the market because people will do their homework and shop around, as they should.
What kind of shift are we seeing in the type of art that's being created, in your opinion? Like, what are galleries or online, like, what are the shift in, the direction that artists have gone in?
Yeah, definitely the landscape days are over at the moment. So I think the people that used to buy landscapes are all, they're not buying art anymore. It's a lot more modern, and there is a real, even in the physical art scene, as opposed, and I'm going to say physical, and then we have NFT or digital art scene.
Yeah.
There is a real merge over a taste at the moment in that really modern and almost video game-ish style art. That there's a real crossover, and I think that the reason why that is because NFT, particularly in Australia, where we're behind the world when it comes to moving forward in most scenes, but particularly in the art world. It's hard for people to comprehend the digital side. So the digital artists are finding when they're doing traditional style art, that they've got to have some medium in there to draw the two together. And it's only a matter of time until I feel that digital art takes over traditional art. Yeah. Many people disagree with me, but those same people disagree that there would be an Aboriginal art scene in Australia, and that's massive. So
So in your current space with Lloyds Auctions, how many art pieces do we go through a month, for example, or a month or a week, whichever the numbers that you have? Like, are we looking at is it 100 and 200 or 200 to 300, or what is that range looks like per week or per month?
So we don't. There's a company, a number of auction houses release their numbers to. We don't do that, and we do that for vendor privacy.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that we are in the top. We are bouncing on the top. If we look at that art, just the art part of Lloyds.
Yes.
Bouncing on, competing with the top guys in turnover of art and in volume, we would kill them, all of them. We're doing over 1,000. We sell over 1,000 pieces of art a week.
Wow.
Our range is everything from decorative piece up until $100,000-$200,000. We just recently sold $200 and something $1,000 Jeffrey Smart, which it was a good buy for the buyer. It was a good sale for the seller, but it's everything in between that. But it's by volume. We are doing, and then there's daylight, and then the next person.
So Lloyds Auctions doing 1,000 plus art pieces, auctioning 1,000 plus art pieces a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Lloyds Auctions, we have a number of offices around the country. We're pretty well in every state, and so
Yeah.
we have specialist fine arts people in every area. We have dealers that send us product. We have artists. We deal directly with a lot of artists. It's a way for them to get access to a huge buyer base that we have, and to get their work out there. We deal with estates. People just wanting to sell work. It's a big job. Getting the work in and cataloging the work and getting the work out. But there is a great team that does that.
Awesome. So with the art that we do, what is the if I ask you to, can you give us a story about an artist, how Lloyds Auctions changed their life? Can you come up with a story that something that is memorable to you? We don't know about the artist's name, but I would love to know how did you change their life?
Well, not so much me. I think that Lloyds does. I mean, as you put me on the spot, but if we don't go into names, there's a number of artists who, working normal jobs, and normal job is a not an art job, wherever that be, and by being able to sell through us, and they've been able to leave those jobs and just full-time produce art, which is what they love doing. And a full-time artist isn't like a full-time plumber or a packer of shelves. They're not working around the clock. A full-time artist works a few hours, they get their brain going, and there's a lot more into it. I'm simplifying it. I can't paint them. I've had some fun with a few artists that are trying to get me to paint, and I am a bad painter. I know a good artwork, but I'm a bad painter. So there's a lot of artists, and I don't know the numbers, but it would definitely be well over 100 who we have allowed to leave their normal day-to-day job and just produce art. Families as well, that if we go away from artists directly to people who have collections, who are struggling, we can liquidate art very faster than if we look at our competitors, where they're doing 2-3 auctions per year. So if you're giving them an artwork, they're often sitting on that artwork for months. We're running auctions every day. You could be in a top-end artwork within a few days. A top-end auction within a few days. We can turn over really fast.
And go ahead.
So I was just going to say, just skipping back a little bit before where you said the landscape days were over. So can you give us any indication as to what style the current art is and what's popular?
It's very simple. It's simplified, and almost Picasso issues come back around, and the colder era where just lines, colours, simplified art. It's not the busy, and people are moving away from buying. When I say traditional art, it's maybe like a portrait. You could never. It was always hard to sell a portrait of a male because not many people want a portrait of a random male on the wall, but you could sell portraits of women. But those days have moved away from that. It's really simple lines, simple colours, and it's art now is more like statement pieces. A lot more. Traditionally, we found it was you bought it because it was who painted it. Basically, if it was a really poor example by a top artist, people still pay big money for it because it was by that artist. That's not the case anymore. It's not the case at all.
Have you? I'm going to ask a controversial question. Okay.
Here we go.
I'm just curious. I have had my Instagram newsfeed flooded with them. Have you seen the AI art pieces that are coming out? Everyone that's, putting up their photos and getting all types of different, I don't know what to call it, different AI created scenes of themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's the new movement. If we're looking at the younger, I call them kids, but everyone's a kid under the age of 30 to me. But if we look at the younger people coming through, and again, they're the people who are buying as well. They're the buyers. Tech is their second nature to them. They grew up tuning their mum and dad's TV when they were like 3 years old. They were doing it before they could read the books. This is normal to them. We kind of mocked them when they were buying clothing for their games that they were playing online, and then all of a sudden now this whole metaverse is created around that, and that the momentum of that is not going backwards, it's going forwards.
Yeah.
And even us oldies are getting on, you've got to be on board on that. If you're not on board of it, then you're going to fall way behind. But the AI, the fact that everyone can do that now is amazing. You can do that off just your mobile phone. Like, and everyone carries this thing around. Now, everyone can be an artist, anyone can be an artist, and people want to buy cool stuff. And you don't need to be, a certain name or have a certain reputation to produce really good stuff.
That brings me on to my next question. Since anyone and everyone can do it now, and it's not even really them doing it, it's the technology, what sort of impact do you think that's going to have on pricing of art? Like the value, the cost? Do you think it's no longer scarce if everyone has access to it and can essentially be an artist these days?
No, I think there'll be a resettlement in the market. That's actually a really good question. I think there'll be a resettlement in the market. But, if we look at, say, gold, everyone has access to gold. Gold's still got value. Silver knives, silver spoons or knives and forks, it's still got value, even though there's a lot of it about. I think it'll resettle. There's a massive difference between good art and art. So, what my idea of good art and art will be different from yours, and different from there'll be there's 5 people here. There's 5 different versions of good art, but good art is different from just art. And even though you can producing good art that people will pay good money for and collect, it is different from just taking a photo and running a filter over it.
I guess it's like just about any product that you go and buy. You can buy a mass-produced version of something, or you can get something that's bespoke or handmade.
I guess like fast fashion, slow fashion.
And I've played with the AI art myself, the generators text to image, and it does still take skill and creativity to come up with something nice. It's not just like throw some text and have a cool piece of art. There's a practicing around it and the right piece of art to get that to pick up your text.
And you know what? It's a really good question to ask about the value of it. Now everyone can create it. I mean, everyone can paint as well. Doesn't mean that you can paint just as what Shane said.
And I look at that like NFTs on OpenSea. Anyone can create NFTs there, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, but they're not all got a high value to them, for instance, but there's some that do pick up and build a great community for whatever reason.
I think something that it opens up hugely for us with access to this sort of creating digital art is that because anyone can do it. You could have let's call it a 10-year-old girl in Nebraska who's had no art training whatsoever, produce amazing stuff. And previously you had to go to the art school and be the artist. Well, what's to say that 10-year-old girl in some outback town in Nebraska can't produce amazing stuff if she's got the talent? So I think we'll see a lot of really new concepts in art coming through that are so far away from the tradition because they don't know the traditional stuff. They don't know that you're meant to paint left to right or whatever have you. And I think we'll see a lot of that breakthrough. And that I think as we progress through there, people are going to be popping up with types of art that's completely new.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing too. Like, if that's instead of Nebraska, but someone who's in a third world country or high inflation, like El Salvador, I think it is, Venezuela. Where that 10-year-old can sell that piece of art for say $10 or that NFT for $10 without needing to outlay mediums and just have internet access, and they could provide for their whole family.
So Shane, can I ask, obviously besides dealing with traditional artists and then you also deal with digital artists, what sort of, I guess, opinions, uptakes, things like that do the digital artists have as far as NFTs go? Because in my mind, it took me a little while to get my head around it, but I realised that I was placing a greater value on a physical piece of art as compared to something that was created digitally, just simply because it could be copied as easily as it could. But obviously with, you bring NFTs into it where it gives it,
authenticity.
That authenticity. Like, what sort of feedback have you gotten from digital artists?
Well, digital artists there's some more traditional artists breaking into that scene as well.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of artists traditionally have done graphic design or something similar in training because they had to pay bills while they were producing art because it didn't pay the way. So a lot of them have training in say graphic design, for example. So they have skills on a computer, but it's more the younger crew that are coming through on digital. They're open to it. I think we're in a sort of a twilight at the moment where producing good digital art and just art to try and sell it. And OpenSea was brought up, and that's a good example. There's I don't know how many things on OpenSea you guys might be able to tell me, but most of it's, honestly, it's a money grab stuff. It's not proper art, and you know that when you see it because it's not quality, and it's not quality to you. But digital artists have been super open about it. They love the concept of it. They love there's a rolling, if you set it up correctly, you have a rolling commission every time you sell it. Whereas in traditional art, it's very hard to police. We tried to police it in the industry. There's a number of dealers going around that to get around it, they just change the title of the artwork that they've sold, and all of a sudden it doesn't exist anymore. So there's no recourse of paying out to artists, when you're reselling it. NFT stops this. It creates authentic art. It can't be faked because once it's created, it's on the blockchain. It cannot be faked. It's a rolling commission back to them every time it sells, and it creates a legacy for them, unlike now. So digital art, it's a younger generation, as I said. It's I'm going to say up to late 20s are the real bloomers in there, and they're loving that. I've spoken to quite a few of them. We're doing a bit of work with them, and they're super passionate about it. They love that there's something in Australia like this, and they don't have to try and organise for it to be an international transaction. But they're super pumped and I love dealing with them because they're so, they're just upbeat and they're motivated, and you can't bang them down. They love it.
Yeah. And speaking on that, I was looking through Lloyds Auctions .com.au and on the Lloyds Auctions.io platform before we set up for the podcast, and I seen it was created by an artist for Unbound Artists, and they had faces of thoughts and unseen worlds. But I thought it was unique that they were delivering a canvas print as well as an NFT. So you still got the physical piece, but you got your digital NFT as well. And I was like, that's cool. You get the best of both worlds, which is Madame Love, which we purchased her NFTs and got our prints as well recently.
That's a good point.
There are some people that you'd want to show the art that you own to that you wouldn't necessarily want in your house to see if anything on. So that works great.
I'll ask more after the podcast.
But, I think in this space, that's the thing is, I think with the artists, before it was just the piece of like their artwork that hangs, but I think now given I think the possibilities have opened up for a lot more artists given so many new mediums, and I'm pretty sure that I heard like this was like in one of Gary Vee's podcasts, like when people did portraits, that was frowned upon because that was not real art. Art's supposed to be on like walls, like as permanent fixtures. And when the portraits was introduced, it was a big hoo-ha about that time. Like, oh, this is not real art, and it should be on a permanent structure, and that's what art was. And I've and we gone through all those. And I'm like, wow, I did not know that. And this was like quite when the whole pivot happened from painting in churches and cathedrals and going to a canvas. And we see that happen all the time, and now we are in a position where we are going to digital art, and it's the same thing. People are not used to it until it's a slow transition. I feel like people feel like, oh, it's like easy to do. It's not easy.
And I also feel like people tend to, their instinctive nature is to fear what they don't know and judge what they don't understand. It's just the go-to thing, but in reality, they try to fight off that change and that advancement, and the technology is going to take all our jobs and stuff. But if you use it as a tool, you realize it now creates a global reach. Now you can reach more people than ever before. It's like the next step up from the internet. Web 2 was read and write, you have a shop. Now you actually have ownership on the internet. So whether it's like a digital twin of a physical piece or just the artwork, in an NFT.
Or even the royalties in this case that we're talking about, you still maintain some ownership, I guess.
And you don't have to worry about any damages during shipping.
If you think of, at the moment we have TVs on walls where we put pictures on, how long, and it's not way out there, that we're painting a paint on the inside of a house and we change the wall colour via your phone. If it's a rainy day, there's the artwork on your wall. If it's a good day, there's sunny artwork on your wall. That's only a matter of time. We're painting solar panels on the house. We'll be painting digital TVs internally in houses and shopping centres, and and art. You'll be flicking through your own library of art and putting it on the wall as you walk around your property.
Yeah, 100%. I would like to ask a question. I'm pretty sure that we can use this one, and I'm pretty sure that this part, probably Nathan will be able to chop it and start promoting out there as well. Shane, can you tell us what's the process if someone wants to join Lloyds, not join Lloyds Auctions, but if they want to auction their artwork? Like, let's talk about the physical art first, and then let's talk about the NFTs afterwards. So if we talk about the physical art, what is the process for some artists to come and auction their artwork?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So all you need to do is either flick an email through. You can flick it through to info@lloydsauctions.com.au or myself directly, which is shane@lloydsauctions.com.au. And it's really just about sending some images through if it's physical art, and then we just have a bit of a chat about where we'll see those in the market, which auction we feel they'd be best in. And once that chat's been had, then getting them to one of our facilities, and they get auctioned off there. They get professionally catalogued, professionally photographed. Our team does all the administration on it, and really all you need to do is give us the bank account details of where you want the money to go for when it sells.
Yeah.
And the NFT inside is very similar to that as well. It's really just flicking an email over, and you can if you don't remember those emails, you can go to either of the website, which is www.lloydsauctions.com.au or www.lloydsauctions.io, and you can flick through, contact us through there. And really, it's the same process for doing the NFTs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that too, I'd love to note what Lloyds Auctions has done with that NFT side, with allowing people to bid on the Web 2 and AUD, but you can still check out with crypto if you want.
Yeah.
But you can also connect with your MetaMask on the .io website and bid on there with any cryptocurrency that's supported.
That's pretty cool.
I believe it's WEEF.
That's a game changer in the industry as a blanket. So even whether you're buying digital art or physical art or cars or whatever you're buying off Lloyds Auctions, you can pay in any format, like with crypto or dollars. So that makes it more accessible as a seller to people who don't yet have crypto but want to get into the space, and vice versa. It allows people to do transactions either way. That's a game changer for us, and we brought that in a little while ago. It's been super successful, and it's only about time till the rest of the competition jumps on that. But at the moment, we are it.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to so that's for the physical art. So when it comes to digital art, how would an artist get on board with LloydsAuctions.io? I'll ask a question from Charlie this time, because Charlie, we developed the platform.
Yep.
And how easy it is for an artist to, start selling their digital art.
So all you do is go to LloydsAuctions.io, and at the top just underneath the nav bar, there's apply to have your artwork button there, and you click that, you fill out the form.
All online, there's no printing
all
ones.
online. You can upload your title, description, image, your reserve prices, everything's in there. And then you also get a Form 9 because of the laws around auctioning, where you allow that art to be handed over to Lloyds, but it's your art still. So they can facilitate the auctioning.
Of course.
that.
And so
And it's really simple. It's easy.
cool. And there's no minting or anything like that involved for the
No,
artist.
no gas fees whatsoever. Lloyds Auctions cover all of that on behalf of the artists.
Yeah. Cool. And I think that's a thing that I just really want to bring out in this discussion is that, we had like the difference between OpenSea and Rarible. So OpenSea, Rarible, and all those ones are marketplace. They're not auction platforms.
Yeah.
So they're not conducting auctions per se. They have like more like marketplaces where auctions. This is run by in real world auction in that manner. So if I ask, go ahead.
The auctioneers facilitate that everything gets transferred to the correct person at the end of the auction. It's
Into the
not
auction as well.
waiting to rely on the person themselves to do the transfer if you've won that auction.
Yeah.
And somebody else pumps the gas.
Yeah, and somebody
Someone else
exactly.
pumps the gas.
Yeah, and the,
It's like the
with
90s
this one,
turbo.
yeah. So with regards to the OpenSea, right? So we have each person have their own art pieces, right? With all different pages, right? So for example, an artist comes on, go to OpenSea and put their art pieces, right? And you had to go and start promoting on Twitter and all those places to attract people to those individual pages.
Well, you have to be the artist, the
Yeah.
IT department,
Yep.
the marketing department,
And everything,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
So what is the difference if we come to Lloyd's Auctions, Shane?
Well, firstly, on those on OpenSea, and you're really just a fish in the sea there. Because you're thrown in. If you're a new artist, you're thrown in with everybody else. And with Lloyd's, we break it up. We like to build up artists. So if you're a new artist in the space, then we can possibly give you your own auction. We can promote you. Everyone gets promoted across our full database. Plus, we have the best marketing team, I think, of any business anywhere. And the reach of that marketing team is amazing. So whether you're an artist who's selling something for a few $100s or for a few $100,000, you're getting the same push. No one's better than anybody else. Everyone's just as good as each other. So, there's chalk and cheese between what we deliver, particularly to, people who are rising up, in this new space compared to where you're just thrown in a bucket with a zillion other people. When you're doing your own marketing like you're doing on those cases, it's really hard to get outside your own little circle of friends, and your mum can only buy so many pieces of your stuff and then she's going to stop doing it. Whereas you come in with a company like us and you're out there amongst everyone. It's not just in a circle of friends, it's 700,000 registered business circles of friends, plus what the marketing team reaches out to. Yeah, it's much wider reach, international reach.
Yeah, I was just about to ask.
So with you being working with the traditional artists, what has been the most challenging part in your part to onboard them to do the digital version, like digital art?
I could be controversial and say that, and I will. A lot of artists are just happy doing what they do if it pays the bills and don't want to rock the boat if it pays the bills. And I kind of get that because they've got to where they've got to. And to be an artist that's paying bills in, particularly in Australia, it's a small market, you're doing very well. And so that's been the case. A lot of traditional artists are older as well and they're more set in their ways and they don't understand digital. They just don't understand. A lot of them don't even have Instagram accounts. So they don't understand the digital work, but then you get the younger guys, and as I said earlier, digital. They came out of the womb with a watch on, so those guys, they know what they're doing. Guys and girls. I say guys, but I mean guys. Guys as in guys and girls, but
So with this rather than getting the traditional arts to become digital artists, right? Rather than having to convince people, I think it's best to bring. There are a lot of smart digital artists, right? And they have their own thing. And there are some artists, traditional artists, who are doing digital art and they're doing great. It's like a niche. I feel like it's like a niche of a niche of a niche. Like you get artists who are having a living based on their art. That's about 5% of all the artists. I don't know, is that right, Shane? How many artists like really, if we get as a percentage of all the artists?
It'd be single-digit percents. But on that as well, Cozzy, and we are finding it with the NFT artists. The good artists are getting signed up and getting exclusivity deals. I'm not a fan. We don't offer and we don't ask exclusivity, because if you're the best at what you do, then you'll come and sell through us. But they're getting signed up by these, and I'm going to call them start-offs that are starting up these platforms. They have no buyer base whatsoever. They have there's no marketing team, there's no project, and then they're getting locked into these deals, which doesn't allow them to branch out. I would say to anyone that's getting spoken about signing up to exclusivity deals, think about that before you do it. As I said, if you're good at what you do, you don't need an exclusivity deal, because you are the best at what you do.
Exactly.
So that's something we are seeing that's stifling that. Go back to your original question, Cozzy. It'll be single-digit artists that are making a full-time living out of art. If we look at who calls himself an artist in the country.
Now, out of that, people who wants to do digital, it'll be even a percentage of that. And then who make money out of that would be even a smaller percentage, but if you look at, and that's from real traditional artists, like if you look at like digital artists, there's like a really like young artists or people who embrace the digital first aspect, they're doing good, like Beeple. Now they've been like digital from day one and they're doing good. And I think there's still a lot more in that space that traditional artists can do. And I think having that Lloyds Auctions.io platform where artists doesn't have to think about how this blockchain works, because even though it's an NFT that gets sold, Lloyds Auctions deposits in AUD to the artist. Am I right, Shane?
Yeah, we could pay anything to the artist. Yeah. So preferably we pay them in Australian dollars when the transaction happens. So it's money you're buying groceries with.
Yeah,
it's real money.
Yeah. So in this space, when you start dealing with the digital artists to bring in NFTs for Lloyds Auctions, what are the challenges that you have faced, or have you ever have Lloyds Auctions done digital art before, or what has it been the experience for you, especially coming from a traditional art sort of background, and you now transition to the Web3 as well. So now we are in the Web2, we are in the traditional art and the digital art. So what's your experience been in this space?
Yeah, I think because there's so many, touching back on my previous point, there's so many people trying to get into the space with platforms. They're very wary. Good artists or artists full stop are very wary about who they're speaking to. You've got a big company like Lloyds, which has an international reputation. It's a good reputation, but they've been burnt so many times by people playing around. So they are wary. But overall, I think it's positive. The older traditional artists, they're sort of, as I said earlier, they like doing their physical art that sticks on the wall, which is fine. A few of them are transitioning over a little bit because they see where the movement's going. But definitely, the biggest thing would be being wary of me, and also I'm a little bit older than they are, and when they're generally talking in their groups about the art that they're doing, they're talking amongst themselves, whether it's at school or at uni or whatever have you. A lot of artists in that age bracket. But once we have that conversation, they get to see what we've got, the product, and the platform that LloydsAuctions.com.au has, and the .io site is amazing, and it is it's a world-beating platform. It's the best of the best. With the amount of volume of bidders we can handle on those platforms, nobody else can do. As we said earlier, you can get people can pay in any format. We transfer it into AUD for you in your bank account. It's directly put into there. All the work's done for you. We're getting them minted. So they see that the service that's being offered, there's no risk to them other than their time of producing the art, which is something that they love doing anyway. So what we are offering is you do all the fun stuff with being the artist. We'll do all the other stuff of being the artist. and then you just spend the money. So it's all fun. There's no real.
It's a
not
pretty
hard,
good deal.
You know, there's nothing difficult. It's a pretty good deal. I'd take it.
Yeah.
And just on that, Shane, can they also accept to be paid in cryptocurrency if they wanted, if that was what the winning bidder paid in?
We can pay that in crypto if they choose to go down that path. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we don't see. I'm not aware of seeing that today yet. Everyone's pretty happy to get their Australian dollars in the bank. Yeah.
Especially during the volatility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so earlier we said like landscapes are pretty much disappearing, right? And I would like
traditional.
Traditional.
I'll say landscapes, and I'd throw that because I probably shouldn't broad. Traditional style arts, a landscape, paintings of horses.
Yeah.
Got it.
You know, like a really realistic style paintings. It's, they're disappearing, and there's a lot of cracking. I mean, really good artists around producing them, but they're not fetching the money that they were, 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Would I be correct in assuming that that's because, as you stated earlier, the buyers are getting younger and younger?
Yeah, that's right.
And the buyers are going to buy what I guess
They're resonating with.
there needs to be a motive in some way to them,
Mm-hmm.
or resonate with them. And it'll be what they're used to. Whereas, I mean, like, if we go back to the oldie days, even older than me, somebody might have walked out their back door and looked at that lovely landscape or the horses running past them, and that's what they wanted to see. But that's not what the younger buyers...
They're all about gaming and
Yeah.
technique,
So where do you see...
something cool hit. Recent one I bought was the Mem one, the one you bought, Cozzy, at
I bought
this was the Anubis 3D model.
That's right, yeah.
What is
like,
that?
Are You Winning, Son was my one.
Yeah. So it's a bit different. I think it's almost like with the NFT art, it's like, what's happening now, because it's almost like, I feel like you buy NFTs as recently at that time, like when the whole FTX went, belly up, a lot of digital artists created artwork around that incident, and then I bought it so that, I thought like, oh, you know what? I minted that piece of art when it happened, so I have provenance, I have a history in my wallet.
There at that in that moment of time.
In moment of time, so it's almost like art is like at that moment of time.
Yeah, piece of history.
Piece of history.
Yeah.
And that's what I think what you're getting at.
It's an interesting shift because that mountain is probably what's going to outlast me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You don't know when those horses were running through that countryside.
It's like when we all got the Ethereum merge.
Yeah,
These little moments in
The
history.
consensus merge
So
NFTs.
if you look at art in history, art was, a memory or a story that was being told. You look at the Egyptians, their art was a story that they passed on, and as we come through the ages, it was memories and stories. And what we're seeing now is everyone has memories and stories on their phones now.
Yes.
So where art now is something new and something that evokes something in that one person, and the generation that's doing that, they're a lot freer thinking, and they're not bound by what my generation of their age was bound by, or the generations before that and before that. They don't need to put a story on their wall because they've got stories in their phones and on their watches, and so that's where art now is becoming more about it's pure expression of yourself as opposed to producing something that is a memory or a story. That's what I think.
I see that like street art. Art, it's all totally different when we're down in Melbourne walking around.
Exactly.
Cool
Like
ones,
graffiti.
all different.
Yep.
All sorts. Like,
All sorts.
You could call it graffiti, but I'd call it more than that. It's not just letters and text. It's actually
It's
It's
a lot
still
more.
good art, even if it's on a brick
Yeah.
wall.
And coming back to Shane again, Banksy, the stories that he tells, what I mean? Like, what was where he's instead of throwing the grenade or the Molotov cocktail, he's throwing the flowers.
That's right.
I absolutely loved it. Was my sort of first looking at art going, I could buy that. Like an expensive piece was the Banksy piece that when the auction finished, it shredded halfway down. Like he's really there in that modern version of
exactly. Like utility.
Which that shredder was actually built into the frame.
Yes.
Which brings me to my next question. Like, so art will, I think, transition and transform, and artists will. What does this all mean for picture framers?
They still need to hang their digital pieces up.
Well, I don't know.
It'll be TV framers, Craig.
Yeah.
On a nice big fancy.
It's going to be a dying art, is what I think, or a dying skill.
I mean, like, look, we spoke about different art, right? And I would have touched base on other things like, say, pottery, and what about photography, right? Photography is like, it's still like simmering, and like, it's still simmering on it, but not really being out there in the NFT space.
Well, I think we've seen some cool ones from those guys in, where was it? Nigeria?
Yeah, Nigeria, Nigeria, the one,
What was there?
Maya.
Maya. Yeah, Maya. He's building, he's doing quite well with his NFTs, and he was featured on Lloyds Auctions as well. But yeah, that photography, but with a real cool art symbol, like it was awesome.
It wasn't just
with photography though, that'll go beyond art. Where if a particular photograph is used in a news article or reproduced in print or something of that nature,
or glass negative.
That being on the blockchain means that you can then still, I guess, track that back so that royalties can go back if it's used, things of that nature. So
decentralized Shutterstock.
Decentralized Shutterstock. I mean, that's what it would. There's no central party to manage
Another
it.
$1 million idea, Craig.
I mean, exactly. Like, you know what? This is what artists who really, like, not artists, like, anyone actually, but having that royalty part built in. And I think a lot of the platforms, again, like you're talking about platform fees, right? Now, platform fees is like, okay, why are you, given it's a decentralization, as a centralized location, yes, we can get the buyer's premium and vendor commission and all that. But now we are moving into a decentralized world. People are thinking, okay, look, for artists, for photographers, for creators, they should get rewarded. But why should the platform get rewarded, right? I think if the platform is not actively promoting this artist and doing the hard work, like doing that, why should they get paid? You know what? That's what I'm asking. Like, especially in the Web3 world.
That's a good point.
Well, I think the platforms that do put in that work will be the ones that take up the majority of the market. And the other ones will
just slowly get. They had to start pivoting. But if they have a company that built based on that, on the platform fee over the, I think the art. I think that's what I feel like the centralized companies who are basing their art deals based on that have to start looking at how they can reinvent when in the decentralization world.
Well, as Shane said, with Lloyds Auctions, you've got the marketing team there that will promote your work for you, and the artists just want to do the art and then keep producing art and let other people worry about it.
So have you come
I think so.
Go ahead, Shane.
Something I think which, and is probably for another cast, is the authenticity and provenance that comes around on the back of the blockchain. Because up until now, if you're a successful artist, well, traditionally when you're a successful artist, people try and copy your work. And if we look at Pro Art, everyone knows who Pro Art's a household name in Australia. There's a myriad of fake Pro Arts in the market. If you're not buying one of those from a reputable place, you're crazy. Because people start copying them, and it's good that people out there can produce things. They can produce exact replicas of things. So the blockchain stops that because that once it's being minted on the chain, then there's no question on the authenticity and provenance of the piece. And I think we will see a real move forward in that space over the coming years, particularly with art.
I mean, like, I was so surprised, Shane, when you were other day when you were telling me like some what they do to make sure like the real art is the artist who did that by putting a bit of DNA or something.
Well, Pro Art did that, but they've got there's experts in the field in certain artists, and they know the brush strokes, they know the pressure that they did. But you're only got an expert if you're an artist that's selling work for millions of dollars. If you're selling artwork for a few thousand, there's no expert on your art other than you. So that's protecting these. But if we look at David Bromley, he's another Australian artist, and he's selling works for thousands, not hundreds of thousands. There's David Bromley's being imported from other countries which are not David Bromley's, and you can tell the difference if you've got an eye. But having that provenance set up and that authenticity on the chain, there's no question about it.
So, there's a big, obviously there's always been artists, right? There's always been, it's not like just, I don't know, I feel like now there are a lot more artists because when I see something, I'm like, oh wow, that's cool art. Walking through Brisbane, I'm like, oh, that's cool art. I start taking, pictures and all that stuff, right? Where I never noticed those art pieces before. It's weird. I have become a, bit of a, I don't know.
Critique.
I don't know about connoisseur, but I'm like, I like it. I enjoy art now, right?
It's drawing your attention more
now.
now.
It's like,
you're noticing it more.
It's not like, oh, that's, it's whatever it is, and it's like music, right? Like, okay, what type of music do you like? I'm like, I like anything that sounds good to me. I have no preference. It's just like anything that sounds good. I don't understand the words like Andrea Bocelli or when they sing. Like, I had no idea what that means, but it sounds good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just like that in art, it's not that what is good or bad art. It's just like what do you build a relationship with, what resonates with you, right?
Yeah.
So when they come to Lloyds Auctions, for example, for you to auction their art, Shane, like we said, like you're moving like 1,000+ pieces a week, right?
Yeah.
And in that process, do you vet what art pieces goes on Lloyds Auctions, or how does that process looks like?
Yeah, partly we do. I mean, I deal pretty closely with the teams around the country in the products we're selling. Everything gets authenticated, but we vet it to make sure that it's going to achieve a reasonable auction value to put it up. Because if we're putting something up there, and we're spending the time on it, it means somebody else's work isn't going up. So if it wasn't going to achieve a reasonable figure of over $20 or $30, then we're better off spending that time on somebody else. But I love new artists coming through, and I like seeing them develop as they come through.
Yeah.
Artists change their styles, they change the markets, and they become more mature. But yeah, with the art that comes through, we do look at it all as it comes through. It doesn't just, you can't just, on the .io site you can upload immediately. We don't offer that on the .com.au site.
Yeah.
But even the art on the IO side is cleared before it goes up, is that right? So unlike OpenSea, where it's just open slather and there's like thousands upon thousands of pieces, what goes up on Lloyds is better.
We also do it because if you're selling a Pro Heart, it needs to be a Pro Heart. It can't be a John Smith version of an exact copy of Pro Heart signed, P Hart or whatever. So there's a lot of reasons we do it, and the same with the IO. You want to make sure that make sure that we're authentic and selling correct artworks by correct artists.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, the beauty of this is now we had this. Lloyds Auctions got about 1 million+ users, customers, right? And then with that, Shane, because I get emails when the NFT auctions goes live, or when all the what you call cars, like luxury cars, I have put my name there, and I just like to see what happens. Like all the Teslas come on, and I'm like, oh yes, those Teslas, and it's cool that you get notified. And even the art now, even luxury like jewelry, and I love seeing what type of watches goes online, and just keep like what comes up there, and that tells me like you can really market or people receive emails on auctions and things going live, and I guess that's a little bit different from any other going to a marketplace, I would say, and reaching those customer base. Some people obviously don't. I had to be honest. Like when I joined, I'm like, okay, no one's going to bring things to for auction. But then being there for about 2 years, it changed. I finally came like, okay, I'm going to clear my garage, and then that's it. It becomes so easy, and I just went and dropped it. I had to think. I signed the Form 9, and it was done and dusted. And when we did the IO platform, same thing. We just receive the digital art, and we do the minting and all that. Yeah. Now I know there is a bit of a thing that artists, we are not teaching them how to fish. We are fishing for them. You know what I mean? Because we're not teaching them how to mint their own art. And when they come to Lloyds we are minting it for them so that they can focus on the art. But I think what we are planning, coming up next year is to have these things for artists to come on board and teach, and show them how easy it is to mint through Manifold, and how easy it is, so that they go through this education process without having to
Take them on the Web3 journey.
journey.
Teach them the benefits and show them what it's all
Yeah,
about.
exactly. And also there are awesome people in the space as well doing this, education and onboarding other artists, which is fantastic. There's so much scope for everyone to grow.
And some of them don't want to, like, if it's not their cup of tea and they just want to create art, then they have that option.
Yeah.
And it's a second stream of revenue for them as well. If they have the physical piece and the NFT piece, they have a better living for themselves.
Yeah. So when you approach Shane, approach the traditional artist to say like, oh, have you guys heard of NFTs or digital art, or what is the one thing that you would say that put them off?
Put them off. It would be their lack of computer skills. A lot of the traditional style artists, the ones that are shying away a little bit, it's purely their computer skills and not being comfortable with IT basically. And because we've got to remember, I mean, online shopping when I first started my business was 20 years ago. Before that, it didn't exist. It used to be if your mum and dad didn't know the answer to a question or your teacher didn't, then you didn't need to know the answer to that question because nobody did. Whereas now, every answer is available at the click of a button. So the internet's very new. There's a whole number of generations that have no computer skills and are not comfortable. And the years of banging on about the bad side of IT, that's pretty all gone now. The kids are so savvy. They know if they've received something bad before they've even opened it, and so that would be it there. But there's two art markets at the moment. There's the people, the IT savvy and the younger generation with the NFTs and digital art, and then there's the traditional ones. There's a few in the middle that are crossing over a little bit, but there is a real, I would say, a significant divide there. The ones that are good in the NFT space are good. The ones that are good in traditional are good. There's not a lot that are really have their finger in both pie and are good. There's a few about.
There's a few about.
For example, he's a bit of both. He's very, very famous traditional artist. Was a head artist for Mambo, which was a real Australian company. Google it later. And he's got a background in graphic design. He loves that side of it, so he's gone down that path, and he's seen some great results in his NFTs. And I mean, you could ask him, but I would say that he would say his NFTs are outperforming his traditional art at the moment.
Isn't it?
So, Shane, what kind of advice would you give someone? Say they have a physical art collection and they've decided to attach a digital twin, like an NFT. Like, what's the process they would go? Like, would they?
Is that if they painted it, they can do it. If they didn't, they can't. So there's quite this. Although the copyright laws haven't caught up, particularly in Australia with digital art. I think the governments are lagging significantly behind. But so we at Lloyds we use traditional copyright law, and you can't take a photo and copy somebody else's art. But if it's your art, then you certainly can, you can produce NFTs off it 100%, but you can't do it off somebody else's.
Yeah.
I guess you can take a photo, like high-res photo, I mean, with your, your camera, I mean, your phone now, you know what I mean? And take a picture and then...
You could do it yourself. If you just wanted to do it, and say you want provenance on the piece or something, you could do it that way, but you can't make an income, you can't reproduce somebody else's art. And that's the whole NFTs is, I think, that's the whole point of the NFTs is that you have ownership over your art.
Which brings me right back around in a circle to the AI stuff that we started speaking about. Is it your art?
That's a good question. Like, I mean,
They put the text in.
But you could have said to an artist, I'd like you to paint me a picture of 3 trees and that stump over there and a big rock.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it your art, it makes it the artist's art.
Man, that's a good question.
I want you to paint me a rock with 3 trees and my name down the bottom right hand corner.
No, I think this is what it is, right? And
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, that's why, Shane, I think when you say about the whole copyright, the
Comes down to licensing, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, look, given the possibility now, what has opened up for artists, I always say it's like this is the renaissance for artists now, you know.
Yeah.
And I really, you know, whenever we see any artist or anyone who can, you know, I think I like their drawings, right? I say to them like, okay, you had to just get on this Web3 NFT. I'm like, okay, I don't know what it is. I say like, don't sort of turn off because of the NFT, the word, the blockchain, and the crypto. So just do the art in digital format, and I will do everything else for you to onboard.
Yeah.
You know, don't think of what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you nothing. It just costs you $0 because I'll do all that stuff for you.
So no risk.
No risk whatsoever.
So that's what I meant before about what's the process if an artist has a piece of art and they want to create a digital, like it's theirs.
Yeah, I would say like, you know, if they have a physical art, you know, if they even bring it to us, our people, you know, the Lloyds Auctions would take a photo in the right way so that it's all, you know, high res photo, and then convert that into, and then we'll mint it through the process, you know.
Okay.
Not we, when I say we, it's like Lloyds Auctions team, even we are part of the, you know, one big group. So, you know, the team at Lloyds Auctions will mint it. And then, it goes online, and then the artist get paid when the auction is finished. Because the beauty of this is like, it's a traditional auction, which means every lot gets its own time to go through, because it will never be lot 1 and lot 30. The lot 30 would not get sold until lot 1, 2, 3, 4 get sold, right? So with Lloyd, you know, with OpenSea it's different. But in a traditional auction, it's not.
Just time and date, yeah. So
exactly.
You can end up with a whole heap of, you know.
I mean, exactly. If you have like, how can you keep up? But if you're following an auction, I think then every lot gets its time.
A fair go.
A fair go.
Yeah.
So whether you like it or not, you know that you got like X amount of time. Once the timer start counting down, you got like 2 minutes worth of, you know, air time, every single piece in that auction. So I think that's the biggest difference between an auction and OpenSea.
Yeah, and a marketplace.
And a marketplace.
We actually keep our lots open if there's actively bidding, like a traditional auction. So if someone places a bid and the time's up, that lot will still stay open. The next lot won't open, and then you need to have, and we set ours at, you know, around the 10-second mark of no active bidding on the item. So if you're bidding, we don't close it. If people are happy to keep buying your NFTs, we'll keep them open for you. So it's really mimics that traditional auction house. And then, like you were just saying, because once there's no bidding for that duration on that item, it'll close, the next one will open. So, you know, we've had art auctions that have gone for, you know, 7 and 8 hours because there's so much bidding on them.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic because it's a great bidder interaction.
Yeah, I mean
it's a late night for some people.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it, right? Because I think a lot of people think, you know what, I need to go where all the eyeballs are, so the crypto people are, right? So, and that's what I think people forget, that, you know, coming to a place like Lloyds Auctions, like, who are they? They're like, Aussie thing, it's not that global. I think a lot of people, you know, sort of discount it, thinking, I don't want to go there because they are not eyeballs, but they would do all the hard work on OpenSea and doing marketing and all that stuff.
Then you're also competing with so many more people, whereas
millions of people, right? And given crypto is down, no one is spending there.
And also on places like OpenSea, you've only got die-hard crypto buyers.
Yeah. Exactly.
You don't have mum and dad who happen to come to it. Whereas, like with Lloyds Auctions, we've got both the die-hard, but you've also got mum and dad who are buying their first NFT. Mum and dad buying their first NFT and never buying, I shouldn't say never, I'd be very surprised if they're buying their first NFT off a place like OpenSpace. Very surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we know how many times we have helped people to create digital wallets from Lloyds Auctions, right? I mean, we hold their hand and get them create their first wallet, and then we transfer. We show them okay what it is. I mean, like okay, we had the when we had the guitars, the lemons,
Yeah.
right? And one person,
Shaped rock, yeah.
yeah, and then they say like, oh, I got all these guitars. How the shipping works? How does the shipping works? And I'm like, you know what I mean? And and then they're like, okay, I don't want it. All right, cool, no issue whatsoever. We'll remove the bids, right? Because it's about the customer.
Yeah.
You know, we can't, you know, and that's it. I think, Shane, that's what I would like to say to like, you know, here, like Lloyd's Auctions is a little bit different from other places because other places like, you know, eBay, or if you put a bid on, you know what, it doesn't matter whether it's a picture of a car or the real car, you own it and then immediate and all that stuff, right? But here it's a little bit different. So it's a decentralized but centralized to look after the mums and the pops, right? And we de-risk it for the end user, for the vendors and for the customers, right?
The big difference is
It's a huge difference.
It's the service.
It's a service. It's a trust that, you know, I guess, Shane, that you guys built over a decade ago that really helps this, and that's why people just come and bid, right?
Yeah, I think that's important too because we're in this space. We're breaking new ground, and you are as a producer of as a producer of NFTs, you need to be open to that. Sometimes people are not going to understand what they bought. You're breaking new ground. That's just a fact. You know, for us, we look after our buyers because without the buyers, there's no sellers. So if someone bids on it and they're not sure, they thought they were buying a real guitar or a real Ferrari or whatever it was. And, you know, that's just part and parcel. That's learning for them. Often they take it anyway, but that's part and parcel with breaking new ground. And what you guys are doing and we're doing, it's cutting edge stuff. We're bringing it to, if we go back to OpenSea guys, they're just digital. You know, they know digital. We're bringing it to a whole new market as well.
Exactly.
And a market that nobody else is bringing it to in the volume and in the in the way that we are doing it. So you've got to be happy, or you've got to be satisfied that there's going to be some times when people think that they bought something that they haven't bought, and we look after them. As Cosy said, there's no argument about that. No dramas. They have a laugh, usually at their own expense. And we move on.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, those guitars did look really realistic.
Oh,
Yeah,
they look really good, those guitars. I mean, unreal. I mean, like, when we did our first NFT auction with the whole, the digicars, and we had that massive utility behind those digicars, right? And even, the person, recently, they came back. So they spent something like, I don't know, something like $50,000 on a digital car, look like a digicar, right? And then because they spend quite a bit with Lloyds Auctions buying classic cars and all the everything else as well, they have already saved so much money on the buyer's premium, and that utility is free buyer's premium for 2 years, and they went so hard, so now they saved multiples of what that NFT costs. They spent like
they made their money back over and over again.
Because when you buy a classic car like $500,000, you buy like 2 or 3 of these, in the 2 years, that 50,000 becomes like that's the best ever investment that you have done. So
digicars are a bit unique too. We probably just need to bring that up because they do some packages with if you buy certain ones, you get some deals with Lloyds. That's unique in that sort of area. Most of the NFTs we sell are not. We don't put those packages in that, or the pieces sell off their own and on their own merits type thing. But it's important to read the descriptions.
Read the description, right? And I think, I believe this is what we had to educate the artists on. Like, Shane, we had a chat like other day. Like, we want to do something like crazy event next year, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And with the artists and bring them together, we're going to do some I'm so excited. I already got some really crazy ideas. what we want to do. And I think it had to be like, to bring like traditional artists, the digital artists, the crowd together, and to do something really cool, the Q1 next year. So because there are awesome artists in quite a few places. I mean, there's nothing to say that given we have 14 locations around Australia.
Yeah.
And we got the warehousing space. We have all the places when we can put like all the events to in all the other parts of the country where I think that's where Lloyds is a little bit different from other places, because Lloyds Auctions got the the technology, NFTs, and Blockstars being part of it as well. And we want to do the right thing. Lloyds Auctions want to do the right thing, and I think we can make some really good, like a good impact for everyone. And that would really make, I think, once the digital artist and the traditional artist comes together into one place, I think then the conversations will happen rather than Blockstars or Lloyds Auctions sort of asking them to create stuff. I think when the artist gets together, and they will talk the language. And when they hear, oh, this NFT, I mean, like we had like not this auction, I think last NFT auction, like some of the items are like like $5,000, $6,000, other one like $12,000, right? NFTs. And some of the artists are struggling on OpenSea trying to get it like, I don't know, 1 ETH, which is like, I don't know, 1,000 something US dollars, right? $1,700. While they're struggling marketing, they're doing everything else and all this stuff. Here at Lloyd, we are getting those numbers like because they had like really good art that resonated, right? So,
well,
go ahead.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was on that one. That particular artist had a school project to produce NFTs. They were in grade 10, and as part of their teacher was like, yeah, do it. And part of that program, they produced the NFTs, and they were selling NFTs for $8,000 and $10,000 a pop. There's a grade 10 student as part of their growth at school and part of the project, they were doing their own NFTs. So, sorry to interrupt. Did you? No. I thought that was important.
It is.
Grade 10 student.
That is exactly right. And this is what I think people have to where the focus and use that time and look at the market conditions. And I think this is where I think it's not the artist's issue. I think it's our responsibility to take this to the artists, because we know the power of this, right? And I think it's our fault not communicating this to the artists, because artists only knows what they know.
And the other thing is, a lot of people might be deterred from it because not enough people are in the space, but that should do the opposite. They should want to get in the space because there's not that many. It's an opportunity, especially early on.
Yeah.
Like, what have you got to lose, really?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think Q1 2023, I think we're going to be a lot more prepared, and I think we learned quite a lot of lessons this year, I'd say. And we fell, we hit our nose on the ground, we bled, and now we're going to wipe it, and then now we're going to go again. I think I'm super excited for next year. I think we're going to have a bit of a like a relaunch. Now we sort of fixed our kinks. I think next one is now let's onboard a lot of the artists and educate them, take them on this journey. And I think we had to bring those artists as a like a partnership. They had like, okay, look, what can you do? Because at the end of the day, platform is as good as the artist. Without the artists, there is no platform. There is no platform without the artists. So so I think we had to make sure that the artists are the superstars, not OpenSea, not the Lloyds Auctions. It's the artists. I think we had to make them, empower them to come and do their thing and help them.
You'll see too with Lloyds, it's not when we deal with sellers and buyers, it's not transactions, they're relationships. And people at my phone rings, I receive hundreds of calls a day. People just call me and they want to have a chat, and I've got team members exactly the same. We've got different divisions within the company. People have our phone number. They can call us and actually speak to us and ask us questions, or and a lot of the artists that I deal with I've known for a long time, and sellers, and I know their families, and That's what it is. It's not a transaction. It's relationships.
Yeah.
You go to some, agency, it's a transaction.
Yeah.
You're not talking to somebody. It's a transaction. So we don't do transactions. We do relationships.
Yeah, that's a big one, So, all right, guys, I think we've gone over the time. It's an awesome chat, Shane. I don't know, have you guys got any questions? I mean, like, if the let's ask you too. Anyone got any questions from Spaces?
Can I ask one while you're doing that?
Yeah, of course.
Just while he's checking Spaces, Shane, after talking about all of this, where do you see the space in 5 years? Like, how big do you see it? Where do you think we're going? What direction?
I get shot for saying it, but I think it's a little bit like the horse and the car argument, that people rode horses for as long as they could, and the ones that had cars, the ones that didn't have the cars used to hate the car riders. And I think eventually the cars took over the horses, and I think eventually digital will take over traditional. And even if we break it way down to the new generations coming through and so conscious of their environments, producing art is using natural resources, and I think that will steer a little bit away from that as well. I think it'll be a massive movement. We've seen metaverses and everything develop. I don't think we're there yet as a race, I suppose. I don't think as humans we've got the metaverse sorted, but I think there'll be versions of that where we have our metaverse house with our metaverse art and our metaverse relationships, and that's where I see it going.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you? Where do you see it going?
I have the same opinion, but I wanted you to say it just in case.
I think we are there. I got my metaverse, but no one visits me.
And it's
I'm
like,
there.
you're there, Cozzy's there.
If we see your wallet, Cozzy, you're in multiple metaverses.
Cozzy's got every NFT there is to have. Like he said, he's got
I love-
email alerts set and ready to go.
I love NFTs because I feel like now I can be, I can really own, like yesterday I was at an event, right? And we were just talking, and I'm like, and I asked him this guy, I was like, I'm really into art now. And he's like, what type of art are you into? I'm like, I do not go down this rabbit hole, right? And I'm like, have you guys heard of like NFTs? Like, scam. I'm like, let me show you, right? And then I'm pretty sure that they're like, this guy lost it. I mean, he was a good guy, but of course he lost it now, right? But then showing them the art that we recently got, from Lloyds Auctions, from Blockstars, and myself as well. Like, we minted few art pieces. Yeah. And I think, as we are talking about art, I think we have to support artists, right? Local artists. When I say local artists, I'm talking about Australian artists, right? And I was showing them like, they're like, wow, this is nice. I'm like, why can't I, why do you have that? You can't show it anywhere. I'm like, it doesn't matter, because I know it. Like, not everyone who buys like Picasso hangs it in the living room. They keep it in a safe, right? So same thing, Like,
you have it.
And I said, like, I even met these artists. I spoke to these artists. Like, I know them. Like, that's the type of, now this is cool, and rather than just getting an art piece or something, like, I know these artists and I support them. That's cool for me.
And the coolest thing is, especially when you do it from Australia or a platform like that, you actually get to build a connection with them.
Exactly.
Like,
right?
we've had a few artists on the show, and Cozzy's creeped on the internet at midnight, bought an NFT, made them flip out. They didn't know what was going on.
He's gone on the internet at midnight.
What did I say? I don't know what I said, but I retract it. We've got them on the show the next week, and they're just losing it. So we've actually got to meet a lot of cool people, because he's gone and bought all their art and shown us the next day and added to his NFT collection again. And so,
but I think that's a cool thing. I think if you are saying like, okay, we are in this space, I think we have to support the artists. We have to understand they are the cornerstone. Not any of us. You know what I mean? I think once we empower artists, I think we're going to make them more excited to create more artwork, and they know that, okay, you know what, this is real now. It's not a fad anymore, and I think that self-doubtness that goes away, and then we get to talk about it. I think that's just, I don't know, I'm just romanticizing about this NFT
And really quickly, the AI art might still be your art. It just depends if you treat the AI like the paintbrush or the spray can or the chisel if you were sculpting, for example. Is it just a tool that you're using to create the art?
Well, actually,
Is it your
I
art?
thought he said
He's been thinking about this the whole time.
Yeah.
I wonder why he's been quiet for 20
Yeah.
minutes.
I'd actually
It's
like
like, I'm going to
let
get
us
him
know
at the
what
end.
makes you think your art
It's
or not.
waiting for you.
So, I mean, when you buy the AI art, I feel, it makes me, even because of the AI art, someone who said something, I think I saw on LinkedIn, right? Someone said like, oh, now this is going to threaten artists. And I'm like, hell no, because now I'm going to scour every single piece of art before I buy it. I want to know that who the real artist behind it now. I think it's a lot more now, I want to like really spend time on
Well, I
knowing
think it comes back to what is art. Art to everyone is something different.
It's subjective,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Do I care if it was made by a robot or paintbrush? Probably not. Craig?
Maybe.
Yeah.
For me,
Depends on the
for
art.
me it does. It
Yeah.
does matter because for me, but I want to know the person
Well,
behind
I think
the art.
if
Yeah.
they've painted it, they've
Yeah.
put more time and care into it. But I look more as like, do I like that piece?
Yep.
I'm not too worried how it was made, but yeah, that's cool. Like
But
even,
I don't think because when you're at NFT Fest, the person that you
Oh,
bought
he's
the
got a
art piece
story.
from, right? He was like telling me, of course you should go and check her out. She's like an awesome artist. We should bring her because she's like super awesome character, right? And
Yes,
she's like
yes, I
she's
did,
an
I
artist. What's her name?
Lambi.
Lambi, yeah.
Lamborghini.
No.
Let me check that. Let
Yeah,
me check that.
and
just so I
she
get
is
the
like
name
awesome.
right.
She's like super out there, and I love it. And I think she's like the person of art is like it's like her style, and I think she lives and breathes her style of art,
Lambi artist, you'll find
Lambi
her
artist.
on Twitter.
right? And that's like I think that's crypto. I think she's come from a crypto. She's like she resonates with that.
She's memmed and
Memmed.
made art on Wall Street bets when they were trying to bankrupt the hedge fund, and yeah, she's in the culture.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So and you were excited that day when you were minting that, right? You're coming to me and saying like, of course you should check it out, and you're like,
Well, also I wanted
He's got a fangirl story.
yeah.
It's come out. It's come out.
Also, I just wanted
Charlie
to
was a
support one
fangirl.
of the artists from NFT Fest, and I went looking through them and went, you know what, this one resonates with me. It's very meme-like.
Yeah.
Are you winning some?
Yeah.
I don't think Charlie was saying that he preferred AI art. He just chooses art based on what he likes, regardless of its source.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't buy
But he's
AI
saying
art.
he's saying
Like-
it was exciting from the moment he
Yeah.
got to meet the artist. He went fangirl.
Yeah,
I've seen Charlie do
Well,
this.
it's like it's like people. He grabs bits and pieces and mashes it together. It's
Yeah.
pre-made rendered
Yeah.
models,
Yep.
but he joins them together into his art.
Interpretation.
Do I care? No. Do I think it's cool and resonate with it? Yes. If it wasn't
would you call
$20,000,
photography?
would I buy more?
Sorry,
Yes.
What?
Would you call photography art?
Yeah.
I'd call
Yeah.
photography
But the
art.
camera's doing it. But in the argument we're having here, the camera's doing the work.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at Snappy
yeah,
Snap.
yeah.
Same
He's been
conversation.
sitting on that all day as well. Too, the last time.
It again should be
Mike-
treated as a tool.
Shane just drops the mic and walks off.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I think let's wind it.
Yep.
And there'll be a lot more conversation coming about this. And I think next year, while you're working towards that execution, that we are planning to bring in all people interested on this journey. It's going to be exciting, and I'm so looking forward to it. And Shane, before we leave, if an artist wants to get in touch with Lloyds Auctions, what is the process? How should they contact you?
So they can contact direct with email info@lloydsauctions.com.au. They can also call. I'll give you my number. I'm happy for them to call me directly. 0482 345 651.
Sorry, can you say it again, please?
Text, 'cause I'm on my phone a lot, so text me if you don't get me. But yeah, info@lloydsauctions.com.au, or you can turn up at one of our facilities, and if you get on Google, you'll be able to find them. There'll be one not far from you. But yeah, calling or email.
Yeah.
Very easy. and don't be shy. Have a go. If you think, even if you don't call yourself an artist, but you like to do art, you're an artist. So have a go.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Shane.
Thank you so much, Shane, Mr. Benson, and Blockstars team, Craig, Charlie, and Maureen. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
Kosi, thank you, and thank you to our Insta viewers and
Thank you, Nathan.
our spaces and people as well. I'm like, yeah, okay, there are quite a few. Hey, Madam Love's here. Thank you for joining us. Actually, we did get some prints of Madam Love, and they arrived in the office, and they look amazing. They look amazing. So
and lifetime warranty on
Lifetime?
Yeah.
on the medium she uses, the paper.
yeah, you're saying that,
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing about this space, man. I think we met so many artists. It's crazy. It's so much. So it's so good. It's so good. Guys, if you guys anyone wants to come on stage, please come up and then ask any questions. If no one have any questions, I would say we'll end today's spaces, the podcast. Alrighty.
Thanks again,
Alright,
Shane.
guys.
All right.
Girls.
Thank you so much.
See you
Yeah.
later. See you later.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.
Subscribe.